Today, let's see what is capital gains. Capital gains is profit which are accumulated from the sale of any capital asset. When you're going to sell any capital assets like land and building, house property, vehicles, leasehold property or machinery, or it could be any jewelry. These are called as capital assets. If you're going to sell all these capital assets, and when you earn any profit, that profit is called as capital gains. Okay. And all assets are not called as capital asset. There are certain exemptions. Exemptions are any stock in trade, or it can be consumable stores or raw material, which are held for business purpose or for professional purpose. And the assets which have personal effects, that too especially movable in nature, which includes wearing apparel, motor car, electrical appliances, refrigerator, furniture, which are held either by the assessee or family members. But it excludes jewelry, archaeological collections, drawings, paintings, sculptures, and any other work of art. These all are not called as capital asset. Okay, this you could see in this special cases where I have mentioned all the special cases where there are certain exemptions which are not called as exceptions, which are not called as capital asset. And if you take up a agricultural land in rural area, it is not a capital asset. But if it is going to be situated near a municipality or cantonment board which has a population of not less than 10,000, in that case, agricultural land will be called as capital asset. Okay. And if you're going to see with relating to the distance, if it is going to be within 2 kilometers between municipality and cantonment board with a population not less than 10,000, between 10,000 and 1 lakh. In that case, agricultural land is called as a capital asset. And if it is located not being more than 6 kilometers from the local limits of any municipality or cantonment board, and where the population is more than 1 lakh, but not exceeding 10 lakhs. In this case, agricultural land is called as a capital asset. And where not being more than 8 kilometers from the local limits of any municipality or cantonment board, referred to and where a population is of not more than 10 lakhs. In that case, the agricultural land is a capital asset. And a special bearer bond 1991 is also a capital asset. And gold deposit bonds, which are issued by the Gold Deposit Scheme 1999, and deposit certificates which are issued under Gold Monetization Scheme, these all are also capital asset. And it could be even 7% gold bond 1980, that is also capital asset. A national gold bond 1980, that is also capital asset. Then gold deposit bonds, I told, 1999, that is also capital asset, and deposit certificates are also capital assets. Now let's speak about the type of capital asset. See, so depending on the duration, the capital assets, capital gain can be classified into short-term and long-term. Short-term and long-term. So let's see what is this short-term capital gain. So here short-term capital gain, it depends on the duration. So if you take up short-term capital gain, especially relating to shares which are listed less than 12 months are called as short-term capital gain. And if it's going to be more than 12 months, it is called as long-term capital gain. An equity-oriented mutual fund, if it's going to be less than 12 months, it's called as short-term capital gain. And if it's going to be more than 12 months, it's called as long-term capital gain. And if you take up debenture, less than 12 months, short-term, and greater than 12 months, it's going to be long-term. But when it's going to be depreciable asset is always a short-term gain only. It's not long-term at all. Okay. Then if you take up shares unlisted, if it's the number of months is less than 24 months, it's called as short-term capital gain, and greater than 24 months, it's called as long-term capital gain. And house property greater than 24 months, it's called as short-term, sorry, less than 24 months, short-term, greater than 24 months, long-term. And non-agricultural land, less than 24 months, short-term, greater than 24 months, long-term. I told what are called as non-agricultural land, the distance we saw, which is located near municipality or cantonment board with a certain population limit. I told such agricultural lands are called as non-agricultural land. And depreciable assets are always, I told you, like plant and machinery, furniture and all are always short-term, long-term, short-term capital gain. Okay. Then, you know what is meant by this long-term, short-term? I told so many examples. When we do sums, you'll have a better understanding. Now let's see what are the advantages of capital gains. So here you can see in the next slide, it will have an economical impact. That is, instead of using their money to innovate business, often they park their money in low tax assets. They try to put their money in low tax assets. The capital gain hinders this. So they act in all fairness or as the passive income should be taxed as actively as the earned income. Low taxes on stock gains shifts the tax burden onto working people. So these are certain economic impacts. You can see fair taxation, passive income can be gained, and it encourages innovations. It reduces tax burden on workers. And not only these advantages, you could see certain policy benefits also that prevents, in the previous slide I explained, it prevents low tax asset parking. Okay, they will be able to invest their money in the assets which have low tax. And it also increases active investment in better profitable fields. And it also helps in economic development. So these are the benefits of capital gains. Let's see what are the disadvantages of capital gain. So actually here it results in investor having less money. That is, investor will have less money with him, which could otherwise be saved or invested in stocks and bonds. So this greater investment could help the economy develop. Businesses have less money to expand and innovate, which makes it more difficult to create new jobs. So when they are going to have less money in their hand, in that case, the businesses will not be able to improve their technology, or they cannot make any innovations which would enable them to create new jobs for the upcoming future. Then the money which are used to buy stocks or bonds has already been taxed as ordinary income. So adding a capital gain tax is taxation twice over. So it leads to taxation for 2 times. And there are certain business challenges also, where I told you in the previous slide. Here you can see in this slide that limited funds for expansion. So less money will be available with the business people, even if they are going to think of expanding their business, or they want to bring in new technologies. That will be very difficult for them. And when they are not able to bring in new technologies and innovations and new businesses, this will be very difficult for the economy to create new jobs. And this will also hinder innovation. So it will have an implication on the economy on the whole. So let's stop here, and we shall see further in the upcoming